But the reality is, because the tariffs are so broad and they're not specific to shrimp, that his dumbass doesn't understand. You still need like parts for your boat. And now that's 50% higher. How are you going to maintain your business?
Heard in McDonald Islands.
Okay.
The Wall Street sell-off triggered.
Let's get back to the tariffs, baby. It's tariff time.
Tariffs and trade policies announced by President Trump this week. Friday.
I wasn't here the entire time, dude. Had shit to do. I wasn't being contentious. I'm just saying you would have seen it if he was there.
Losses intensified after China matched the president's tariffs. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all fell more than 5.5%. That added to Thursday's losses, making this the worst two-day streak for the market since the early days of the COVID pandemic. The president is spending the weekend at his Florida resort. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang is traveling with the president and joins us now. Weijia, good morning.
Good morning to you, Dana, and good morning to everybody. You know, last night, President Trump attended a lavish fundraising dinner that cost $1 million a person after spending much of the day at his golf club. He says he is not worried about those nosediving markets and that big business is not worried about the tariffs because, quote, they are
sick. He's not worried about it. Great. Well, if he's not worried about it, then it's fine, I guess. Dude. Again and again and again, I repeat myself on this, but it is crazy how much leeway Republicans get in general, but especially Donald Trump gets when being an out-of-touch, monstrous asshole. It will never not be wild to me. He gets to do whatever he wants, dude. It is crazy. He's just like... He's sitting there. He's like, yeah. Oh, the markets are suffering. Well, I'll make them suffer even more. Who cares? Believe it. It doesn't matter to me. And it should not matter to you. I'm golfing. I'm too busy. And it's just like his fans will just be like, yes, Mr. President, I love you. You're so great. Thank you for disappearing my 401k. It's awesome.
To stay. But we spoke with one small business owner who says she is already feeling financial pain. At the Lotus Food Market in Lake Worth, Florida. Owner Marwa Ahmed brews Italian espresso beans, sells lamb from New Zealand, sweets from Turkey, and roasted sesame oil from Japan. How much of the stuff on your shelves is imported?
Yeah, bro, look at this. 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 The White House provides this update on President Trump's weekend. The president won his second round matchup in the Senior Club Championship today in Jupiter, Florida, and advances the championship round tomorrow. Maggie Haberman says Trump skipped fallen soldier ceremony for golf because he stopped caring about optics. This would also explain the White House celebrating Trump's golf score today. Like, he is straight up taking a what are you going to do about it attitude. And it's kind of interesting because I wonder what this does to his base. Like, will they still rally around him unconditionally? All signs point to yes, but I will say it won't go on like this. I don't foresee this. I don't foresee his careless nature. I don't see his careless nature being seen as a positive for as long as he thinks he can get away with it. I think there is going to come there's gonna be a moment where he realizes like his fans are also f***ing mad. Like, there will always be a number of people at this stage that will glaze Donald Trump no matter what he does, okay? No matter what he does. He fancies himself to be the king, and there are people that will unconditionally defend his decisions no matter what. But that number is not going to stay at like 40%, and it's not going to stay at even 30%. And once it reaches a certain pivotal point, especially if he keeps crashing the economy, yeah, if he keeps crashing the economy like a total dipshit, I think he might actually get removed from office. This is my wild take. Watching CNBC yesterday convinced me the Capitals were dooming. Yeah. Because the one thing you can't do is f up the... As long as you don't f up the bag, you're golden, right? And he's up the bag. And not only is he up the bag, but he's up the bag in a very spectacular fashion with not even any sort of care or consideration. Like, it's Chapo Boys vindicated, officer revolt. Yeah, I still have some friends and family who still support him. Yes, but what did they say? A lot of you have relatives that are Trump supporters. Ask them, and I believe what they will say right now is, oh, there's a plan here. Oh, like, I get that there's going to be a period of struggle, but I think it's for a good thing overall. That is different from what they thought yesterday. Because what they thought yesterday was, oh, he's glorious. There's nothing wrong. Shut up, libtard. This is what I voted for. Right? That, over the course of 2 days, has turned into, yeah, this will work out in the long run. I believe it. Trust the process. Which is one step removed. I mean, it's certainly not the same as it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago, where it was like, yeah, we're winning so much. I love winning. To, it's trust the process. It's going to work. And it will eventually turn into, if this works out, it's going to be great. And everyone's going to know it's great. And you will all be wrong. And eventually it will turn into, okay, this is not great at all. What is he doing? To, you know, a bunch of former Trump supporters turning into the Butler, Pennsylvania guy. And those are the guys with the guns. And those are the guys who are angry and get very angry and have a proclivity towards violent demonstration. So just saying, it can't go on like this for too long. There is going to be, because I'm noticing that even the Trump supporters are basically saying, like, I don't know. I'm sure this will work out in the long run, right? That's different than what they were saying 2 days ago before he plummeted the stock market. Feel me? A quick thread of charts showing how Trump's economic agenda is going so far. Trump has had the same impact on economic uncertainty as a global pandemic. That's amazing. That is amazing. That's incredible. Like, global pandemic killing millions has the same impact. Businesses shutting down globally, supply chains completely crippled. Has the same impact as Donald Trump haphazardly putting together a chat GPT economic policy. Picked up right where he left off, Lamont. Yeah. That was just the U.S. version. What is particularly impressive that he's managed this on a global scale. Starting to get the feeling that Trump annotation is going to be the chart equivalent of a layer of volcanic ash in a fossil record. U.S. consumers are reacting very, very negatively. These are the worst ratings for any U.S. government economic policy since records began. Well over half of Americans expect the economy to deteriorate over the next year. Again, the highest figure ever recorded. People are also very, very worried about job losses. Just 25% of adults say they expect their finances to look better in 5 years than today. Just 25%. Those are the loyalists. That's lower even than than at the nadir of the Great Recession. This one is fun. Remember when Trump won the inflation election as voters united behind him because they were pissed off at rising prices? Fast forward a few months and Americans' inflation expectations are now as high as they were at the peak of the Biden era price rises. Dude. JP Morgan is saying that Americans are going to experience again by Q3 of this year. Q2 and Q3 of this year is when Americans are going to feel the impact. That is record breaking. That is also incredibly unsustainable. The fact that they already experienced negative real wage growth under the Biden administration caused a complete collapse of the Biden favorabilities. It destroyed Biden's legacy, paired up with obviously the genocide that Biden was participating in. But like, that was a major factor. Negative real wage growth is like twice. Negative real wage growth in 2 different terms back to back is psychotic, dude. This is the wealthiest country on the planet. Hotel Wi-Fi moment? What do you mean? What happened? It's especially sad for people that are my age, right? You go to college, horrible job market. Like, think about it. I went to college in 2009. It was over at that point. You know what I mean? I went to college in 2009, got out by 2013. It's fucking over at that point. What are you supposed to look forward to? You know, there's a period of stability, and then, you know, and then there's COVID. And then now Trump comes in again. There's hyperinflation not hyperinflation, but like massive inflation under Brandon. Possible hyperinflation under Trump. Like, if you are a millennial onward, your life has just been dog shit. There's never been a moment for hope. Not even like the brief super growth period in the 90s. You know what I mean? There's just never been. You have never experienced like the glory of the 90s or anything like that. It's just always bad. That is not sustainable. For all the talk about powerful pro-Trump media ecosystem, the share of Americans who have heard negative business news coverage of the government has exploded. Even the podcast bros can't distract Americans from the realities of the stock market. Yeah, you can keep tapping the vein of trans people, of woke, DEI, all day, every day. But when your pocketbook gets hit, you don't give a fuck about trans people, dog. All of a sudden, it becomes a very real situation for you where you're like, well, Trump is not trans. And he's the one who fucked me. Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about how trans people did this over and over again. You see what I'm saying? It's the one thing. I mean, it was the irony here is that this was the reason why, like the most significant reason why Brandon lost. The most significant reason why Biden lost was the economy, was the fact that the recovery came too late. The fact that, I mean, there wasn't really a recovery, but a rebound came too late. And also in the process, like Americans did not forget experiencing negative real wage growth for a year and a half under the Brandon administration. That's something you don't forget. Your salary goes up marginally, but the cost of living explodes. All of a sudden, your dollar doesn't go the same distance that it once did. You are making less money while doing the same job. And the expectation in a healthy society is that the older you get, the more you work, the more money that you're supposed to make, the more purchasing power you're supposed to have, because how much money you make at the end of the day is entirely related to your purchasing power. Pair that up with the already existing unaddressed underemployment crisis in this country where people are just working gig economy jobs to make a living, to make ends meet, and you have a real volatile situation in your hands. Donald Trump threw a Molotov cocktail on that for no reason. It is crazy. Trump's approval is holding up well with MAGA, but he's rapidly losing support among the rest of the coalition who voted for him in November. Or to put it another way, the view from inside the MAGA echo chamber remains rosy, outside not so much. And he will ply away day by day, even the MAGA people. When it gets to losing 30% of their nest egg, when it gets to losing 40% of their nest egg, when it gets to losing 50% of their nest egg, there's only so much economic pain and economic uncertainty that even the biggest diehard MAGA loyalists can take. Now, I'm not saying there won't be people who will defend it unconditionally and vociferously. There will be, okay? These guys are very dumb. They're not particularly intelligent people. They just want to close their eyes and think about a powerful, strong man who sometimes does things that are unpredictable, but he's doing it. He's setting events in motion that are directionally the right things to do. He's got our best interests in mind, right? What did this guy say? Weren't you one of the people who said it didn't matter whether you vote for Kamala or Trump due to the Palestine issue? Aren't you directly contributing yourself to this issue by dividing the left? Wait, what? This guy's still, bro, this guy is still holding on to this idea that I'm responsible for fucking Kamala Harris's dog shit campaign. Kamala Harris lost because she didn't listen to voices that I was representing. I was right. You should go take it up with her. Okay? Kamala lost to this. It is so wild. It is so wild to me that you still have the audacity to refuse to listen when your grandparents recognize that reality now. That's the funniest part about this is like, we were out in the streets earlier today. You think those fucking old people are as libbed up as this one random dumbass who still, for free, defends the DNC's horrible decisions? How crazy is that? Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild that, like, there are still neoliberals that just only care about this back and forth and like defending the DNC, I guess, no matter how bad they get. When you got grandmas and grandpas putting on fucking t-shirts, going out, taking it to the streets and protesting, demanding that the Democrats do something, demanding that the Democrats do anything. You can't be getting outflanked by your grandparents, chatter. Fix your fucking brain. You don't even have decades of propaganda that have socially conditioned you into being a loyal servant of the DNC. The DNC or the Democratic Party hasn't even given you enough amenities for you to do this. There are servants. They serve us. We don't serve them. You can't come in here and be like, the Democratic Party cannot fail. The Democratic Party can only be made to fail. We failed the Democrats. Idiot. You know? It's crazy. When you're getting outflanked by your parents, you got to really reconsider. Trump is obsessed with Xi. I mean, we knew that already. The AP is reporting for Jupiter, Florida, where president is spending the second day golfing. Captures Trump morning newspaper. Trump goes all in, bet with a heavy price of tariffs will pay off for Americans. China, yeah, try. Beijing retaliates with 34% duties as stocks crash. I'm not gonna lie, I'm obsessed with him too. Like, he's hot. He's got aura. That photo, the two photos that live in my mind is him pressing that button, and then the other one where he's in the room posted up with the party. Like, I love that photo. He just looks, I mean, this is a 72-year-old man, okay? He's a 72-year-old man, and the aura that he has in that fucking photo, it just lives in my mind. It has a permanent space. I wish Xi was my stepdad. Yeah, he's the dad that stepped up. Trump thinks Xi will call to beg for forgiveness. I think he's insane. Like, I think he misunderstood the glad handling and the praise that a lot of people gave him to manipulate him in the first term and maybe even in the second, with like a genuine fear that these people have over him. And it's kind of funny. No, don't say that. They will know you are a Chinese spy. Yeah, I am. I'm a spy for China. Like, that's the reason why Shinzo Abe, he loves Shinzo. He loves Shinzo Abe. Why? Because Shinzo Abe was one of the only Western-aligned leaders that actually glazed them early on, because he recognized, like, oh, if I give this guy praise and I respect him, he will give me good deals. He is he's a unstable madman, but he is so narcissistic that he loves when someone is like saying, yes, Mr. President, you're the best. And I think he heard that so much, because I think Putin does that too. Like, he likes authoritarian strongmen who are firm, but also are nice to him. And Xi definitely did that. So on the one hand, he respects the amount of power that they have, the command that they have over their people. He doesn't realize where that comes from, I think, especially with Xi. Like, that command doesn't exclusively come from a repressive state apparatus that's constantly telling people, like, you can't criticize the dear leader. That's, in his mind, he probably thinks that. But that command literally does not exclusively stem from social repression. It comes from good policies that people can see. If in your lifetime you have watched your country develop at a rapid clip, like, you're gonna like. And this is demonstrated in all of the Western polls that are conducted in China about approval ratings. You would also know this if you talk to any Chinese person as well, where the attitude that I hear all the time from Chinese people is they know there are certain things you can't say. They know that there are certain conversations that you can't have. And for an American, they're like, that's unimaginable, you know? They're like, what the fuck? That's crazy. And I agree. I don't disagree with you on that. But as long as you keep your head down in your work, you know that the government's got your back. That is what the attitude is overall. They live in ain't good, no wars, ain't shit to complain about. They live in good, ain't doing no wars, ain't shit to complain about. Yeah, and development. I don't think a lot of Chinese minorities would agree with you there. Please stop, brother, please. Has the CCP invited you to a talk or outreach? Is what happens in North Korea is so close, lol, in Russia. I think we delude ourselves into thinking that it's all fucking, all stick, no carrot in these places. I would go so far as to say that there's probably a contingency of fans amongst Vladimir Putin for bad reasons and for the reasons that I demonstrated as well. Like, in terms of managing the decline in the post-USSR world and like rebuilding Russia, ruling with an iron fist, certainly, but there is like, or even the negative reasons, like rebuilding the Russian Empire. Like, that mentality, I think, for a lot of boomers especially, is solid. They're like, oh yeah, we're restoring the glory of Russia, right? Like, that is probably another reason why people like Putin. But of course, his approval ratings are different than Xi Jinping, I think. There's definitely, it's like Erdogan. Putin and Erdogan are a little bit closer to one another. But ultimately, the reason why I was talking about this is because like Donald Trump doesn't understand that. I think a lot of Westerners don't understand that as well. They kind of recycle the same propaganda and believe it, but they believe the propaganda themselves. Like they think like, oh no, it's just because of the social repression that people are too scared to say they don't like Xi Jinping. And it's not the carrot and the stick working side by side, because social repression certainly exists in China. But there's also a lot of development. There's also a lot of development that makes people think, well, you know, there's certain things that you can't say, but look at Chinese prosperity. It's fucking fantastic. Now that's changing for the youth in China, from what I understand, because they're also losing hope a little bit for their futures. That is definitely the overall vibes that I have at least seen. But the reality of the matter is, the carrot goes a long fucking way. The carrot makes the stick invisible. Okay? Trump is just going all stick, no carrot, especially in a country like America where treats are supreme and Americans have less of an appetite for social repression than the average Chinese person, in my opinion. They have no appetite for that shit. That's why I always stress the importance of talking about the issue of Palestine, even from a First Amendment violation standpoint, because maybe I'm too hopeful about my fellow Americans, but they don't really like that shit. I think China may be similar to the U.S. during the periods of upward mobility in the U.S. from the 40s and 60s. People trusted the government and felt things were getting better. As things stagnated in the 70s, people lost trust. We're starting to see the same in China as the decades of upward mobility have slowed. Yes. No, that is precisely what it is. Yes, upwards mobility gives people a semblance of hope. That's it. It's that simple. When people think, oh, well, my needs are met, they're happy. It's not that complicated of a conversation to have. If you have something to look forward to, that's it. You're like, okay, well, you know, there's some downsides for sure. No country's perfect. It also creates a sense of pride in your nation, a sense of pride in like what it has accomplished on the global stage even. So it's hard to even broach the subject with Americans. Like, I've not been proud of this country. I can't recall a time when I did. From the outside looking in, I was like, man, America seems awesome. I want to go there so bad, but like, my expectations were not met. I was overcome with the true nature of American reality. It just, the idea that Trump thinks that Xi Jinping will come and grovel directly stems from the niceties that he's experienced from Xi that he mistakes as like fealty. It's stupid. I think he's narcissistic and stupid. He's good at reading the room, but I think this is a major weakness for him. The major weakness is when someone is nice to him, he literally takes it at face value.
99%.
99%.
Yep.
So 99% of your goods, the price is going to go up.
Yes.
And
at least 10%.
At midnight, a 10% universal tariff went into effect. And next week, the U.S. will impose reciprocal tariffs on many of its biggest trading partners. Ahmad said she's already feeling the impact, with wholesalers charging her more for goods as they brace for the tariffs. When tariffs kick in, who ends up paying for it?
Unfortunately, that is the sad reality, is that we do have to impose this on the customers. I have to make money in order for my employees pay my bills to keep the store open and to keep being in business.
Trump argues his policies will help businesses, big and small. But JP Morgan's economic team released a new prediction, putting the chances of a near-term recession at 60%. It said Trump's tariffs amount to the largest tax hike in almost 60 years, since 1968. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell.
It is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
From his golf club in West Palm Beach, the president posted on social media urging Powell to cut interest rates, even though the Fed is independent of the White House. And Trump declared only the weak will fail. Ahmed had hoped to expand her business, but now she's focused on staying afloat.
It is very concerning. But, you know, what am I going to do? I just kind of have to take it step by step, day by day.
Ahmed said she is also worried that a weak job market will impact consumer spending, but there is some good news on that front. So even though the unemployment rate ticked slightly up for the month of March, the number of jobs were far better than expected. In response to that, President Trump said it's already working and told Americans to hang tough. Dana.
That message within one day at a time resonating with so many. Ouija, thank you very much.
Di dire più grande di me. È un messaggio che può valere per un imprenditore come per un politico. Quello che riguarda i rapporti fra Italia e Stati Uniti ai tanti giovani che sono qua presenti al congresso della Lega.
Well, I hope that I hope that the United States and Europe can establish a very close partnership. We obviously are. There's an alliance already, but I'm hopeful that there can be a very close relationship with America and Europe. And I'm hopeful, for example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. That would be that's what I hope occurs. And also more freedom of people to move between Europe and North America, if they wish. If they wish to work in Europe or wish to work in America, they should be allowed to do so, in my view. So that has certainly been my advice to the president.
E ringraziamento a nome del popolo italiano.
All right, Fox News alert here as the selling does seem to continue in the American stock market. You've got the Dow sinking to the lows of the session as we speak right now.
The girls are fighting. He doesn't like it. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Down 2,100 points. At 38,418. Okay, so let's bring in Stephen Miller. He's at the White House. He's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Your timing is perfect because I'm sure there are a lot of folks out there who would like to know the White House thinking here. Stephen, please do share with us your thoughts in this moment, and especially after China announced these retaliatory tariffs. It seems like that's when the markets took another leg down here. Where is all of this going next?
Well, let's first establish an important foundation. The United States is 36% of global consumption, and we're more than 25% of the world's economy. Just the United States alone. That means we get to set the rules and terms for international trade. But we've done the opposite as a country for decades now. When we hear the term globalization, what does that really mean? It means taking America's wealth and shipping it to foreign countries. So all the factories that used to be in America are now in China, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Canada, Mexico, parts of Africa, India, Europe, Japan, Korea. You know where they're not? The United States of America. Because our leaders allowed foreign countries to rig the rules of the game, to cheat, to steal, to rob, to plunder. That has cost America trillions of dollars in wealth. These countries cannot win a trade fight with us because they're already the ones who have cheated. So in other words, they've stolen our industries. We have all the upside here in this fight because we can now make these industries come back because we have the market. Japan cannot replace the American automobile market. Europe can't replace the American automobile market. They need us. And this is a fundamental issue of fairness and national security. Tell me, why is it that if you go to Tokyo, there's no American cars? If you go to Berlin, there's no American cars. But on our streets, we have every foreign car there is in the world.
I can tell you, it's because we don't make cars for that market. We can, and we sometimes do, there are versions of like Ford vehicles that we make that those markets can use and drive. What are they supposed to do? What's the goal here? We just like force them to drive F-150 pickup trucks on their roads? It won't fit. What are we supposed to do? Just force them? We did. We literally forced Japan to buy our trucks, and they couldn't even sell them. Sorry. You have to literally rebuild your infrastructure so that it can allow our fucking cars to drive on your roads. Like, you have to change the streets. That is psychotic. You have to change your domestic policies for food. You have to change your food, health, and safety regulations so that you can purchase our beef. That is insane. At no step, at no point in this process do we turn around and go, maybe we should make stuff that they would like or that they could use. Nope, not at all. It's fucking insane, dude.
Locked their markets to our cars. They have stolen from our workers and our people. And President Trump is saying that has to end. We need our wealth back and our jobs back. And the quality of America, the American quality of life will rise exponentially as these policies kick in and as the great onshoring and return of American wealth occurs.
Are you confident we can replace that production and we can do so in a way that Americans can actually afford and like those cars?
Without question. In fact, the changes in advanced manufacturing technology, 3D printing, robotics, artificial intelligence, this makes it more and more affordable to manufacture, produce, and build at scale in the United States. American workers...
Dude, that's also crazy because this is directly him recognizing that it's not even going to be made with American workers. It's going to be made cheap because we're going to use robots. I got this goat cheese tart too, and it is bomb. Okay, DC, I didn't recognize you got game like this. It's good as fuck.
Should not have to compete with child slave labor. They should not have to. That is wrong. We do not need a global race to the bottom that says that American workers have to earn the same wages and work in the same conditions as the poorest workers in the third world. That's the system that we've had. With the right tax policy, the right regulation policy, the right trade policy, and investing in advanced manufacturing, all of these industries and supply chains can come back home. But here's the thing. It's not a choice. It's a national security imperative. Well, what would happen if there were...
You know what's funny about this? I wonder if people will recognize this. His advocacy right here is quite literally the abundance agenda. Okay? It is just as pie in the sky and ridiculous as being like, well, scientific innovation will solve for this. Just simply saying that and moving on. These things take time, you dumb fuck. What do you mean? Oh, with automation, we'll fix it. It's so funny because, like, he's making it seem as though the only hurdle was that the only hurdle here was the fact that we just simply didn't have the automation here. Like, we didn't, like, the factories are empty. There are no more factories. You can't build the factory, let alone figure out the technology where you can still continue to displace the pre-existing labor force to make the manufacturing be competitive with, in his words, child labor wages in Vietnam, which is crazy. That's not what's going on anyway.
There was a war, and we didn't have the ability to manufacture our own steel, our own aluminum, our own medicine, our own automobiles, our own aircraft. What would happen to the United States of America? It is a fundamental matter of national survival.
Yeah, well, we got a glimpse of that during COVID, right? When people couldn't get what they needed, we learned so much of it was being made outside of the United States. And how about the food industry? This was really interesting perspective right here on America Reports last hour from a shrimper. Listen.
We've been getting killed by imports for not just years, but literally decades. So we've been suffering for a long, long time. And these tariffs, we believe, are going to give us some immediate...
This is so funny. There are a handful of sectors that will benefit in the short term from this, even though the overall impact on the economy for the tariffs are going to be disastrous for them too. And it's like meat facilities, right? Obviously, the counter tariffs will hit them hard regardless, but it's just like meat production or fishermen. You know what I mean? It's like, we got shrimp out here too. Why the fuck are we getting it from Ecuador? Right? Like that's the one guy that stands to gain from this. But the reality is, because the tariffs are so broad and they're not specific to shrimp, that his dumbass doesn't understand. You still need like parts for your boat. And now that's 50% higher. How are you going to maintain your business, dumbass? There is not a single person that stands to benefit from this in the short term or the long term without any financial penalties. So they can find the dumbest boaters for Trump guy, talk about how, well, we're no longer buying from Ecuador. We're buying shrimp from me. Sure. Good luck with your equipment costs as you scale up your shrimp production, dumbass.
Outsourced our whole industry. 94% of the shrimp consumed in the United States is imported.
Okay, so he shared with us he's optimistic that this could help his industry survive. And they've seen a decline for decades now because all of these, all the shrimp's been coming in from all these other countries into the United States. Low quality shrimp, he pointed out. But there's fears.
By the way, a lot of the seafood that we're importing has formaldehyde in it, is not safe for consumption. And this whole situation, people have to understand just how badly we've been ripped off as a country. You heard that, gentleman. 94% of shrimp is imported to the United States, and we have the Gulf of America. The U.S. agriculture.
Notice how they only talk about the two sectors that think they will benefit because of their nearsighted thinking here are shrimp and fucking meat, okay? Except for shrimp, you see a tangible benefit because it's mostly being imported. There won't be any fucking exports, but at least you can make up for market demand somehow. So if the cost increasing didn't cook your overhead and make your business unsustainable, which it will, I understand that argument. Now, the demand for shrimp stays the same, but the supply has diminished by 94%. This is a great opportunity for you to make a fuck ton of money. The problem is, this is not a tariff on shrimp. This is a tariff on everything, you fucking idiot. That's why I also even have smoke for like the UAW a little bit, because it's short-sighted. The UAW is excited at the prospect of American manufacturing being a low-cost alternative because they're increasing the prices of all exports. Fine. Or all imports. Fine. But the issue is all of the parts that you're producing are now more expensive, which will then make the domestic manufactured car prices even higher as well, which will then decrease demand. And I think it will lead to layoffs in the long term.
Culture and seafood industry has been decimated because we allow for subpar cheap foreign imports without limit that are subsidized by foreign countries to put our farmers and our shrimpers out of business while their markets are close to ours. Can someone explain to me?
Okay, dude, American farmers, really? Trump is doing a Pol Pot style genocide on the American farmland. And you're over here talking about how, we're going to help our farmers. Dude, one, you cooked USAID, which directly fucked the farmers. Then you do this trade thing and you double fuck the farmers because now you can't even you can't even send soybeans to fucking China. Farmers are cooked. Yeah. He wants to cut food stamps again. It's like that's going to lower demand to a degree where like subsidies will not even help. How did USAID help farmers? USAID buys a bunch of agricultural output to send overseas, which ironically enough actually has a uniquely destabilizing impact on the domestic economies of countries like Somalia, because it makes it impossible for them to develop their own domestic agricultural output.
Protect and defend South Korea. And in exchange, they steal our automobile industry, they steal our electronics industry. We protect and defend Japan, and in exchange, they close their market to our cars. We protect and defend Canada, and they run up a massive trade deficit with us. We protect and defend all of Europe at a cost of trillions of dollars over time, and what do? They run an over $300 billion trade deficit with the United States. Why should America protect the world, send foreign aid to the world, defend the world, provide for the world, and in exchange, get ripped off by every other country in the world? And what do we have to show for it? The deindustrialization of the heartland, the destruction of the American dream, the eradication of our industrial and manufacturing base that we need for our national security, and the crushing of the American dream. It has to stop, not to mention $36 trillion in debt.
I've only got a few seconds left, but people are throwing around the R word, and they see the Dow down 2,100 points, and people are worried about a recession. They're worried that we can't do this without sending this economy into such a deep dive that we can't come back from it. And I know you guys are all about growth. I know you're about lowering taxes, rolling back regulations, and seeing that growth. Are you concerned that this
responsible for the single-handedly responsible for the greatest tax increase, and it's not even a progressive tax but a regressive one, for seemingly no reason, and then they're like, well, you know, you're all about lowering taxes. Why the fuck are you doing a mass sales tax then that nobody asked for? That's what this is. It is also a regressive tax which will harm the working poor way more. No. The funniest thing is, no, this is not a wealth tax. What they've done is just shred fake numbers on a board. They shred wealth in the market because of speculation. They didn't make that money back. I wish it was a fucking wealth tax.
This is going to put us into a recession.
The exact opposite. We inherited from Joe Biden an economy in total free fall. There has been zero jobs growth for American workers in 4 years. In other words, all jobs growth had gone to foreign workers. That is a depression, not a recession. That is a depression for the American worker. We had debt and deficits that were rising unsustainably that would lead us into a certain debt and deficit crisis. We had inflation that was in high double digits, crushing the American family, making it impossible to afford the essentials of life. We had an economy that was in a state of calamity and catastrophe. President Trump's policy of reshoring our supply chains, pushing for total expensing of capital gains, eliminating regulation, eliminating intrusive Green New Scam environmental rules, pushing for the biggest, broadest...
Bro, I never thought I would ever see the world where I would be like, as someone who does not mind trade protectionism, I can't believe I'm listening to a guy who's describing, with the correct words, mind you, what the goals are supposed to be. And I just know he's lying, so I can't even fucking... Like, I know he's lying, and I know it's impossible because you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do before you even got to the tariffs, and you should have never done universal tariffs anyway. That, like, we have a historic destabilization that's taking place, and it's only happening in the wrong direction. I cannot believe it. It almost feels like they're doing this to be like, listen, this is why trade protectionism is bad. We just wanted to do this as a period just to prove to you how bad trade protectionism is. We are doing free trade permanently. Like, it almost feels like a fucking psyop the way that they're doing this. Where's the biggest cope?
Tax cut in American history, and reducing taxes on American workers, including ending taxes on tips, ending taxes on overtime, ending taxes on Social Security.
I liked this a few hours ago because I thought it was a joke. No matter how bad my 401k looks, tomorrow I still got this. Yeah, bro, you gonna eat the Gulf of America? Are you gonna print it out? Eat the paper? What are you gonna do with that? Man, these people are fucking... Bro, they are so dumb, dude. It is crazy how dumb the average American is. Oh my God. The average American Republican is living on a different planet, dude. They're not even living on a different planet. They're like, I feel like they're in a vegetative state.
Security. This economic program is the single most important program for American wealth, prosperity, and rejuvenation that we've ever seen in this country.
All right, I'd love to continue the conversation. Hope to have you back on soon, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News.
Prosperity founder and former Trump.
China tariff is almost a declaration of war against us.
Economic advisor, and Robert Wolf, former economic advisor to President Obama and a Fox News contributor. Great to have both of you with us today. So your headline take on where we are given the things that we just laid out. Steve, you start.
Well, I think this new tariff by China is almost like an act of declaration of war against the United States.
Yeah, when we do it, it's fine. When they retaliate, that's war. That's so funny. How could they do this to us? Yeah, they have no right. How dare they? How dare they literally respond to what we were doing and what we did?
United States. And what I'd like to see Trump do, and I know they're thinking of different strategies about how to move forward, is really aim these tariffs at the villain of the world, which is China. And maybe it might be time for pausing some of the tariffs against Europe and Canada. And look, I think Trump has a case that these countries do have a lot higher tariffs than we do, and it is not a level playing field. But right now, it looks like the whole world has to really go after China right now. And I'd like to see maybe a temporary pause on the tariffs on the rest of the world.
There's nothing funnier than saying the villain of the world is China right now. Like right now, at this very moment, this is perhaps the worst moment to say China is the villain. We are the villain of the world. What are you talking about? These guys are living on on a totally separate planet, dude. Like, good luck explaining to our European allies how China is actually the real villain of the world right now. Remember? Tariffs the EU for no reason. China did this. I'll have you know, we are tariffing you because of China.
And really getting tough with China. China, I was just listening to the interview you guys did with Stephen Miller, and Stephen Miller's right. China can't survive if they can't trade with the United States. So maybe it's time to put pressure on them.
It's interesting, Robert. Yesterday, there was a lot of talk about the first country that steps up and says, okay, pick up the phone, let's talk, we will negotiate with you, is going to be the winner in this. And the ones who come around towards the end are likely to be the losers. And today, this is what President Trump said about his call with officials from Vietnam. I just had a very productive call with To Lam, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me...
He's so funny. He's like, I bet you would hate it if I killed myself. I bet you'd be sad. I'm going to kill myself right now. You better do something. And then no one does anything. And he's like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm going through with it. Look what you made me do.
That Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they're able to make an agreement with us. I thanked him. I look forward to a meeting in the near future. Robert, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is this big, beautiful economy that actually was rolling pretty good with jobs and inflation coming down feels more like the Game of Thrones Red Wedding. I mean, it is not going well. This is being executed poorly. His economic advisors are being intellectually dishonest. Trade wars are bad. Tariffs are a tax. Consumer prices are not going down. We're 70% a consumer-driven country. So building a moat around the United States with protectionist and isolationist economic policies are not positive. And this isn't me saying it. This is JP Morgan, 60% chance of a recession. Heritage Foundation is for free trade and thinks tariffs are poor. I think Steve and I have always been for targeted tariffs. Go after the Eurozone on auto. Go after China on steel and intellectual property. But across the board is just coming back to haunt us. Yeah. And the markets are efficient. I disagree with Secretary of State Rubio. It's not just the businesses are getting reset. They're going to actually look at what happened at Whirlpool in Iowa. They cut over.
So sad. It's so sad to see someone else live your dreams, but do it in the worst way possible. I can't stand this shit, bro. I can't stand it. Why did it have to be him? Like, I dream of a future where there's like a competent anti-capitalist administration that's doing massive jobs programs, right? Like at the federal level, they're doing eminent domain left and right. They're like, yeah, we're building factories, bitch. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't like it? Well, sucks to suck. Here, we'll pay for your farmland, right? We'll pay for your acres. But there's going to be a factory there. And that factory is going to have good paying jobs with tremendous benefits. It's going to be so good where the workers do have a say in the process. that people are going to want to work in that factory, just like America once was. Except we didn't do any of that stuff. We're just doing tariffs for no fucking reason. It's so annoying. I hate it. It's just like they're doing all the bad shit and none of the good shit.
Over 500 jobs.
I hear
and
you.
by the way, today, the senator of Iowa and the senator of Washington are doing a bipartisan bill to possibly take away some of the powers.
To take control back, and Congress really has not been muscular on any of these issues, even though they had the power to be, and probably should have been a long time ago. Stephen Robert, thank you.
Wait, what? Oh my God. Fox News on the fucking rhino tip? What's happening? Fox News demanding that our Congress finally do something to stop President Donald Trump? That's certainly a good sign.
Very much. Good to have you here.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most